Welcome to our living room lectures. We're going to continue talking about how general revelation and special revelation inform ethics. If you remember, general revelation is God's revelation of himself deposited into nature or into the natural world. So things like your consciousness, things like the mountains, they declare something or tell us something about God. That's general revelation. We can think of general revelation like this. It's what humans left to their own devices can decipher about God. That's general revelation. It's called general because it's available to all people at all times. It's general. And special revelation was that revelation of God deposits in specific words or deeds to specific people in time. So the New Testament, for example, special revelation. This is called special or particular revelation because it's not available to everyone. It's available to a subset of humans. So as they relate to ethics, general revelation, humans left to their own devices, can come up with the forms of ethics or how ethics are manifested in the human mind or what creates ethics, but they cannot, or a general revelation, a person left to his own devices, cannot come up with the content of ethics. So they can tell you, hey, ethics works like this, but they can't say this is right, this is wrong, objectively or definitively. So through general revelation, we can come up with the forms of ethics, and through special revelation, we can come up with the content. You can think of it like this. General revelation can give us the cup, but we need special revelation to fill that cup. So, cannot give us the content, must give us the form. Okay, there are three typical forms philosophers have kind of realized all ethics show. There's teleological ethics, there's deontological ethics, and then there's existential ethics. There's teleological ethics, deontological ethics, and existential ethics. Teleological ethics are those ethics that are derived from goals. So something becomes right and wrong based on whether it gets me closer or further to my goal. So if my telos or goal is to, let's say, raise a family, that's my ultimate goal, something is right if it gets me closer. Like marriage becomes good because it gets me closer to my goal of raising a family. Divorce becomes bad because it takes me away from my goal of raising a family. So based on the goal, you know whether something's right or wrong. That's called teleological. Telos means goal or purpose or end. Then there's deontological ethics, which is kind of duty-based ethics. Something is right and wrong, not how it affects a goal that you have, but based on the duties and responsibilities you have. It's wrong to murder, and it's always wrong to murder, no matter what your goal is. If you want to be a millionaire and murdering someone gets you closer to being a millionaire, it's still wrong. Because it's duty-based. The most famous deontological ethicist is, of course, Kant. Fortunately, we don't have time to talk through Kant in this class. And then there's existential ethics, in which an individual uses their own essence or their own self to define right or wrong. So, I am a hunter. That's myself. That's my existential identity. Because of that identity, it becomes good to kill animals. I am a vegan. That's my existential identity. Because that's my existential identity, vegan, it becomes wrong to kill animals. So this is based on your existence or yourself you define what ethics are. Sometimes people will say, based on your authenticity, if it gets you closer to the real self or further away from your real self. But that's a little bit too ambiguous. It's better to think through, how does this concur with my identity? They use the term authenticity with existentialism because the authentic self will always be true to itself. So if I'm a hunter, I will always kill, and it's always right to kill. All right. One last thing about these three schools is you don't have to think of them separately. You don't have to prescribe to one or the other or the other. They kind of all work together. So if you thought of teleological, deontological, and existential, if you create a triangle, one of those goals, one of those schools will form your other one. So if my telos is, let's say, to get married, then because I have that telos, it will create my duty of never getting divorced. And then that will create my identity of being an honest or married man, a faithful man. So you can think of it like each school is going to form the other. If divorce is wrong, that tells you a goal that you should have is being a faithful husband. That goal that you have of being a faithful husband will just make your identity of being a husband. So you don't have to think of the schools as separate. You can think of them as working together. Most people do think of themselves separate, but it's better to think. So that's what general revelation can do for us. It's given us the schools or the forms in which ethics come in. Special revelation will give us the content. So, so we know through general revelation, one form that we have of ethics is teleological ethics, one based on the goal. But only through special revelation can we figure out that goal. Right? I'm a teleological ethicist. The goal I have by reading the scriptures is to glorify God. Or you're deontological ethicist. Only the scriptures, you can think ethics come in duty, but only the special revelation can give you what your duties are, namely the Ten Commandments. You're existential ethicist. Only the scriptures can give you your true identity. We can say made in the image of God. You see, though the forms will be available through general revelation, only through special revelation can we have the contents to fill that form. And we talked about, these are the examples. Teleological ethicist, the form comes from special revelation, the content of glorifying God, fulfilling the Ten Commandments for deontological, existential, being made in the image of God. Again, the best way to think about it, the relation between special revelation and general revelation as it relates to ethics, is general revelation gives you the forms, special revelation gives you the content. All right, until next time.